I want to start by creating a new project again, and for this I'll again use Create React Native App. Now, one important note at this point, we will eventually eject from this setup to get more power over the configuration and to also be able to build this for deployment, which we ultimately, of course, want to do, because there are some limitations if we stay in the Create React Native App world. It's great for setting up a project though, especially since we can easily eject later. So let's install it, and if you haven't done this in the first course module already, here's the command you need to execute. You will need npm for that, and you need it later too. So for that you should install Node.js from nodejs.org. And once you got that installed, and once you installed Create React Native App, you can simply open your normal terminal or command line on Mac or Windows, depending on where you are. And there, navigate into the folder where you want to create this new project. And in there, you simply run Create React Native App with dashes between these words. And then the name of the project and of the folder you want to create. I'll name it rn-course. For React Native course, of course. This will now create this folder and install all the dependencies. If you see an error here that npm version 5 isn't supported, simply downgrade to npm version 4. Instructions about this can be found attached to this video. You probably don't face this error anymore at the point of time you're viewing this though, but if you do, then follow the instructions which are attached to this video. Now with that, I'll wait for this to finish, and then we'll open this in an IDE and start working on this project. So the setup finished here, and we could run npm start to start this development server and then open the app through the Expo app. But before we do that, let me open this application we created, this project we created with Visual Studio Code, which is the IDE I will use here. So I opened the project with Visual Studio Code. It's a fast and free IDE, but of course you could also use WebStorm, or you could use Atom or Sublime. You don't really use Xcode or Android Studio though, because after all, it's still a JavaScript project. We build native apps, but we don't write native app code directly here. We don't write Swift or Android code. So therefore, a web editor, a web IDE is a great choice. Now, in this new project, we only got a couple of files, as you already learned in the first course module. Most of them are configuration files, like package.json, which defines our dependencies. And we got this app.js file, which actually hosts or holds our, well, root component in the end. The root component which makes up our application. Now, we can't really see how this component gets loaded due to the setup we're using here with Create React Native App. One of the reasons why I want to eject, I want to show you how this gets loaded. Additionally, whatever we build here, in the end will always be wrapped by the Expo app or this Expo service which stands behind the app if we build it for native devices. This is why I will soon eject from this configuration so that we have a pure React Native project we can work on. But for now, let's stay in this world and let's dive into this app.js file. We already changed it in the first course module, but it's super important for you to understand what's going on here, which is why we'll spend some time on it. So let's dive into this file and into components we can use and we can't use in the next lecture.